Talking about the access control list. I mean, the firewalls. What are the different types of firewalls are there? And then we have seen the what are the importance of your intrusion detection system and intrusion prevention system. Today we'll try to discuss the access control list, which can control the traffic. So this ACL or access control list, you can say that it is a series of command. So it is a series of commands that control whether a device, the edge device or network edge device, whether that will forward or drop the packets from inside your network to your outside the network or outside network to your inside the network. So this access control list basically performs a certain tasks if when it is configured at the edge router side. The first one is your limit the network traffic to increase the network performance. So in generally, what it means in the corporate policy prohibition, in any of the corporate industries, they try to prohibit the video traffic on the network to reduce the network overload, because as compared to your text traffic or any other the audio traffic, your video traffic takes a lot of bandwidth. So to reduce the bandwidth of the network inside the network or your outside the network, if the access control, the ACL is configured at the edge router, suppose not allowing any video, not allow any video stream, suppose, then all the video streams will be blocked. Upon if any video stream goes from your PC1 to outside the network, or if any video stream comes from outside the network into your PC, that will be blocked. So that is one, and this policy or this task will enforce the ACL to block all the video traffic inside and outside. And second task which it performs is the traffic flow control. It provides a traffic flow control at the edge router when it is configured. So how it is going to control the traffic means the corporate policies generally requires the routing protocol traffic be limited to certain links only. That means here there in this network you find there are three routers are there. They try to exchange the routing information from source to your destination. So that routing information means your routing table will be there. So that routing table will having the source to destination path details. So that path detail will be exchanged among these routers to route the packets from PC1 to your PC3 or PC1 to PC2 based on the routing table. And suppose because of the external problem or internal problem, if any link goes down, then that path is not going to be exist. So that information will be updated in the routing table, and that information will update in the routing table which is available at your router 2, and that will be shared with your router 3, that the link between R1 and R2 is collapsed. So that if any device in this side network, if they try to send any packets, so router R3 comes to know that the route is not exist to your R1 router. So that way the traffic flow will be controlled by exchanging the routing information. So that is the traffic flow control process. And another one is this ACL that provides the basic level of your security for network access. So what type of security that it can provide? That means here you can see the human resources subnet is there and there is a public network is there. So then when they try to access the information or try to send any information to the PC1 or PC2, which are there in another network. So in that case, they try to provide the access control. So that means in this case, you see that the policy demands the access to the human resource network be restricted to authorize the users only. No other users like PC1, PC2, or PC3 can access. Only authorized users can access this. So how they are going to be configured? Only authorized users means those who are there inside this network, they will have this IP address 172.17.0.0 or 0.123. So by just allowing only those IP addresses, they can access the devices which are there inside this subnet. If any other users they try to access that, any request comes from your PC1, suppose from your program PC1, that will be simply dropped here, because the IP address of PC1 is something different from the IP address of the authorized users. So there, the first one, it will check the IP filtering, that what is the source IP address and destination IP address. Based on that, the packets will be dropped here. And another policy is you are filter the traffic based on traffic type. So which traffic type it is there. So that, based on whether it is this policy basically requires the email traffic be permitted into the network, and any FTP or any telnet access will be denied. Any FTP or telnet access will be denied by your the edge router. And another policy is screen host to permit or deny the access to network services. So what it means, the corporate traffic that specifies that the voice traffic be forwarded, or only the access of some type of the packets will be allowed inside the network or outside the network, such as your by using your FTP or your HTTP. And if the HTTPS is suppose not allowed, then if any packet originates from this PC, so when it reached your R1, that HTTPS packet will be dropped here. That will not be forwarded outside this networks. So these are some of the tasks which basically performed by your access control configuration or configured edge router. So how it is going to perform means, this packet filtering, when it is ACL is configured at this router level. So this router level is configured means what? It is able to check the IP addresses as well as your TCP or the IP addresses and your TCP or UDP ports will be checked out by this router. So how it will be the packet filtering control access to a network by analyzing the incoming and or the outgoing packets and forward them or the discard them based on the given packet or the filtering. So that is the basic concept of your packet filtering in the access control list is one. And how it is going to be controlled means, suppose if you are having the configuration of, if ACL is configured here, so at this router, suppose let us assume at the router 2, how it is going to be configured, that is based on your numbered and the named access control list, we say. So what is that numbered and named access control list? That is, if you go and configure this router, then you will find when you enable this router, you will get the router to configure. command. So if you go and check it out or issue a command for any of the router, the physical router, that what is the access list, and give the question mark there, it will find you what are the different access numbers and the names are given to that is assigned. So let me just quickly give that command here. Suppose for R1 R2 router, when we are going to configure as a network administrator, in that mode, when you are giving the command that the access list, question mark, whatever the available number and named is there, that will be displayed. So how it will display? So the numbers from 1 to your 99, the numbers which are used for your IP standard access list. So this IP standard access list will be used, means if any number is associated with any of the hosts in between this, only those hosts can be accessible. Okay, that means in our HR team, suppose in the previous slide which we have seen here, in this HR team, the number is given to this host address, right? 172.17.0. something. So then in that case, it will display within this standard IP address whether that IP address, the from 172.17.0.0 is there or not. If they are there, they will be allowed. If not there, they will be denied. And the number, suppose the access list number from 100 to your 199. Okay, this gives the extended, the IP extended access list. If the number is, suppose in between your 202, the number from your 110 to your 1199, suppose they will be used for your extended 48-bit MAC addresses. So like that, so on, it is having the numbered and the name ACL. So this numbered ACL and ACL number from 1 to 99 are, your 1300 to 99 are the standard ACLs, while the ACL numbers from 100 to 199, they are the extended ACLs, we say. So the named ACL, that is the named access control list, is the preferred method to use when configuring the what you call the access control list at the edge router. So how it is used then for configuring any the extended letter? So at router 2, suppose we have these access lists which are not yet suppose used. As a network administrator or system administrator, when you are going to configure this, in this case, when you are going to configure, you need to configure with the accessible, means giving the authorization to only those users, those who can access the system. So by giving the IP access list, and in that you are going to mention whether you are using the standard IP access list or extended IP access list. Whether you are using standard or extended, you should mention here. Suppose if I use the extended, the access list, then we need to give the name. which service is allowed inside. That means if you give the name that the FTP filtered. So when you give this command, it will just only permit the TCP connection. When you configure this one, then you're going to ask that, for this extended access list, what action as a network administrator would like to take. So if you give that permit the TCP, permit the TCP connection, that is starting from suppose the network address 192.168. Suppose 10.0, and give the submask also how many users will be allowed in that. So if you give the submask that is 0.0.255, that means from this network all the users, those who are there in this network, will be allowed. Or after that you may give the extension that any means any of the users, if it is equal to any of the packet, if it is equal to your FTP, then only that FTP packets will be allowed from this network address 192.168.10.0. And if the if you give that deny the TCP from a network 192.168. Suppose 11.0, and all the users from that network, that we give the 0.0.255. Okay, so any traffic comes from this network, so that is any traffic comes which is equal to your FTP, that will be denied. So that means what? You have one network, one router is there. This router is having two networks. Suppose having some multiple networks. One network side you are having the one switch. Let us take a switch here. This switch is connecting suppose to PCs, PC1 and PC2. Another switch is there, switch 1 and switch 2. It is connecting your PC3 and your PC4. Another switch is, let us take this switch 3, and which is connected to a PC5 and PC6. So how they will be identified? They will be identified with their network. So let us assume that this network side is 192.168.10.0 network. Assume this network is 192.168.11.0. So I'm using first 3 bytes to represent the network address, and this side network, assume that 192.168.12.0. So here this router, let us assume this is router 2. As a network administrator, when you configure this router 2, that the IP access list, which is extended list for your FTP service, FTP filtering. If you are going to configure for HTTP, then here you will get HTTP filtering, or your what you call the DNS filtering, or any other, whatever these services there that you need to mention here and configure. So in this case, let us see, we consider the FTP here, FTP filtering. So any packet that comes from this network 192.168.10. So from this PC, suppose if any packet comes, that packet goes through your switch 1, and when it reach to your router 2 will check the IP header, the packet header. In that header it will check the network address. In that network address it is configured as permit any packet with this IP address. Then in that packet, it will go and check which service it is accessing. In that service, if this packet is expecting the accessing the service of your FTP, then only that packet will be forwarded to any other networks, to S3 switch or S2 switch is one. In another case, here we define that deny TCP connection, which is having your network address 192.168.11. That means, suppose from your PC4, if any packet is if any packet is generated, and when it reached your router checks the header field of this packet. In that, it is finding the network address, that 192.168.11 from this network. It is configured at the router level as deny. So upon receiving this packet and examine the header field of this packet is having the IP address 192.168.11.0. So it automatically drop that packets. So like that, if any, upon going on, you are giving the FTP filtering or the HTTP filtering. What about this? Okay. The HTTP filtering or any other service, when you are going to configure in that way. So this is one way of securing your network. So what happens here, suppose, assume that your PC5 is a attacker, suppose, and sending any packets trying to attack your PC2, PC1 or PC2. Based on this IP address, if any packets comes, that will be simply dropped by your R2 router only. That will not be forwarded towards your network for your PC1. So that way you are going to secure the network, the private network as well as your public network cells. Right? So in this, what is the basic operation is happening here? In this case, from this scenario, whenever your router is there, that router is having, the access line. One is, we call this as your inbound ACL, because at every port you are going to configuring both the terminals, input terminal as well as your output terminal. So here we call the inbound ACL, and here it is the outbound access control list. So this ACL defines this set of rules that give the added control for the packets that enters the inbound interface as well as your outbound interfaces. So in the inbound ACL filter packets, before they are routed to the outbound interface, if the packet is permitted, as we said, if it is permit, then if any packet comes from input side, that will be permitted to output line. If it is denied, suppose, then that packet will be dropped at the inbound port itself. If it is permitted, then it will forward this side network. If it is not permitted, that will be dropped here. So at an outbound ACL filter packets after being routed, regardless of the inbound interface, the incoming packets are routed to the outbound interface, and then they are processed through the outbound, the access control list. That means sometimes, if this inbound interface is not configured properly, then if the outbound interface is configured properly, suppose, though it may enter into your router operating system and goes through, based on the routing table, it may reach to the outbound interface. There the ACL will again check whether it is permitted or denied. Okay? So in that way, it will be more secured in terms of checking the packets, filtering to secure your network. Okay, so let me just try to give you the demo on this, so that you can understand with the concept of that. Let me just go through that, check it out.